on sea shipping. Industrial Marine Highway, we'll be able to expand our industrial marine highway in this northeast market. And what short sea shipping or industrial marine highway in operations means, very simply, is that we have an opportunity for Quonset to become a feeder port for the immense barge and marine transportation products goods market that exists right now in the northeast marketplace. And let me be clear, because being a Newporter, people were really mad at me a few years ago when we were discussing container ports. Now, fortunately, we have LNG tankers to worry about. But back about 10 years ago, there was a great concern that Quonset was focusing on this large container port sector industry, and that Quonset would start to look more like, if you've ever been to Port Elizabeth, if you've ever driven on 95 South Parsons, New Jersey, and you look over there and you say, wow. So there was very legitimate concern that nobody wanted to see Quonset in Narragansett Bay become Perth Amboy or Port Elizabeth. The real issue was there wasn't really a market that could sustain that level of a mega container port operation. What the market is, and you really want to take advantage of what exists. The fact is that Port Elizabeth is what it is, and it will continue to be this mega container port, and large barge and container ships will be coming in. But once it comes in there, and then they're sending those processing supplies up to the northeast market, they're doing it for the most part by truck. So you see the double rig trucks going up and down 95. It's a safety issue. In fact, Connecticut decertified the double. They only want single. So that just means there's more of them going all the time. And I can't tell you what the pollution issue is in those diesel trucks. Well, we've got the ability to step into that market and say, you can actually break that down to smaller barges and smaller short sea shipping transportation assets and bring them to Quonset, and then Quonset we can bring it into the marketplace. Thus, the freight rail improvements we've put there, the 403 highway connection that we've put there. So now you have an opportunity where we can become a feeder port for the larger megaports. So we can get the best of the market, but at the scale and the size that's not going to interfere or compete with the quality of the bay and the other bay economies, from recreational sailing to commercial fishing to even some of the activities that we're seeing in boat building and sustained economies. So this is a well thought out strategy. It's getting capitalized with federal funds, and it's building out very quickly that asset class in Davisville. So I want to end with just a couple of the immediate priorities. What are we doing right now to kind of meet this market demands, these challenges in industries, and then really open up to any questions you might have. What are we doing immediately? One, we recognize that this recession with the collapse of financial markets has created a trickle down where the access to capital and credit to particularly small existing businesses has been a challenge. I mean, I have to say, and I have to remind people, because I keep hearing people say this was a banking crisis. No, it wasn't. In fact, our savings and loans and privately held banks have done outstanding work and continue to do outstanding work. We have Bank Newport here, Newport Fed, People's Credit Union. They're good banks. They're good contributors. They're doing well. They're solvent. They're competitive. Now, when you get onto Wall Street, into hedge funds and other investment capital, it gets a little bit more of a slippery slope. But in any case, we have seen, because of this collapse of the financial markets, we've seen a disruption in the flow of capital and credit, particularly the small businesses. And the one role government can play, and this is very important to me because being someone who went to the University of Chicago, I'm a bit of a supply sider, and I always get a little bit nervous about the role government should play. And in business, I think the role we should play, which should be very limited, but I think we can and should play a role where we can induce or provide incentives for private investment in strategic public assets that relate to economic development. So government can play a role, and we at the EDC have played a very good role in providing access to private capital and equity through credit enhancements, loan guarantees, mortgage insurance. And we have a series of instruments at the EDC that provide that. And in fact, this year, my second day on the job, we were able to restore to $60 million a very significant loan guarantee program where we simply will provide upwards of a 75 to 90% guarantee, depending upon if it's real estate or buildings or equipment, behind private bank financing to induce financing, secure that financing for economic development projects. Now that we have that program in place, we have a pipeline of companies, so we've already financed, who are existing companies in the state, who are growing jobs, and most importantly, they're sustaining themselves. We're creating a similar program we have before the legislature to help this growing life science and software engineering market. And again, one of the great challenges is that if you're a software or an intellectual property company, your asset is intellectual property. It's a patent. It's a license. It may not be fixed machinery and equipment. You're not there yet. You need another few years in a business cycle and a growth cycle to get to the laboratory, the equipment. But you might have a software patent that has great value, but you need further research and investment to bring that to the next level that really creates jobs. So we're creating a guarantee program that would be placed behind and support software, engineering, knowledge-based life science, those companies whose asset, their equity asset, is really more of a soft asset. And we've put forward before the legislature, it's in the supplemental budget, we've gotten great support, a $125 million guarantee program specifically targeted to this industry. So it's one thing to say we want a knowledge-based economy or a life science economy and all the spin-off of the jobs. It's another thing when we can have a financial product in place to attract private investment in these companies here within Rhode Island, with the state guarantee and support behind that. We're also working with the congressional delegation to develop a new small business lending program that provides a very similar guarantee program for small business access to capital. And that's these small Main Street businesses that are looking for working capital, you know, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $50,000. I just want to keep products on the shelf. I just want to keep a few people employed. I'm a service industry and I'm between seasons. And I just need access to capital. And we're now working to create a program that would provide that similar access. But notice in each and every case, because we don't have any money, the state's insolvent. So we use guarantees, mortgage insurance, and other credit enhancements to induce private investment, which is proper, within key companies within the state. So that's the capital credit focus that we're putting forward. On the workforce training programs, I had said, we've come up with a very aggressive and comprehensive program for the community college. And within a week, we'll be announcing a comprehensive regulatory reform program, which will include, I don't want to get ahead of my boss because it's his announcement, and he's excited, and we'll make sure this gets announced. But it's going to include significant opportunities to create an accountable, efficient, and most importantly, an equitable regulatory process throughout the state. We'll start with state agencies, and we'll provide incentives and support for the cities and towns to participate, because one of the great challenges of overregulation, and again, I want to be absolutely clear, we are not talking about usurping or superseding proper government oversight of regulatory matters that protect the health and safety of the people. What we're talking about is creating a predictable, uniform system. We're just simply saying to any business that's looking to grow and requires a building permit or an air quality permit or a physical alteration plan, we're just simply saying, present the rules of the game, present the timeline, and then let us perform correctly. That's all we're asking to do, and we will create a system that will oversee that, will demand that, and in some cases intervene to ensure that the rules of the game are consistent for each and every business in the regulatory environment. And again, not being California and Texas, we can do this, and do this effectively and efficiently. So let me stop there. A lot of information, about 30 minutes, but I want to be clear to you that economic development is an absolute priority of the EDC, it's an absolute priority of the governor, and we are taking this very seriously. And most importantly, we've gotten great leadership and support from our congressional delegation. Our Senate President and our Speaker of the House and their staff have been working with us each and every day. I mean, my staff here will tell you, it's a new day. The level of interaction, the level of collaboration we've had with the legislative staff and leadership is unprecedented, but you know what? It has to be. We're in this together. We have to work forward in a single vision, in a comprehensive plan to grow and sustain our Rhode Island economy. So let me grab a drink of water and I'll try to again answer any questions you might have. Thank you for being so patient. Thank you.